So I'd like to now introduce Katie Dykes, Commissioner of the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. She was nominated by Governor Ned Lamont to serve as the Commissioner of DEEP and was confirmed on February 20th, 2019. Katie previously served as Chair of the Connecticut Public Utilities Regulatory Authority, also known as PURA, from 2015 to 2018, and as Deputy Commissioner for Energy at DEEP from 2012 to 2015. Katie also served as the Chair of the Board of Directors of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, also known as RGGI, from 2014 to 2017. Katie joined DEEP in March 2012 after prior serving as Deputy General Counsel for the White House Council on Environmental Quality and as a legal advisor to the General Counsel for the U.S. Department of Energy. She's a graduate of Yale and the Yale Law School. So now I'd like to bring to the stage Katie Dykes.
Thank you, Brenda, so much for that warm welcome, and thank all of you for this opportunity to be here to talk about DEEP's environmental priorities for the coming year. You know, as I was looking and thinking about this talk today, it's always so energizing to be in a room like this. We are so privileged here in our state to have all of you working so hard to advance our environmental mission. And the partnership that we have, our agency, with so many of you who are putting in the hours, whether it's at the Capitol as legislative leaders on these issues, whether it's in nonprofits or stakeholder groups, whether it's showing up and speaking up and being leaders on these issues on your campuses and in your communities. We are making so much progress, and the progress that we can make this coming year on the priorities I'm going to talk about today are really all going to be a result of how well we're working together and listening together and fighting hard, all of us in this room. So this is always a really special conference. It's starting off, kicking off a brand new year. And as many of us have probably experienced, last weekend, my kids woke up to a 60-some 70-degree day. We went out for a hike out at Penwood State Park. It was gorgeous, and they were just begging, to wear flip-flops. It's a really strange moment for many of us to see, this unseasonably warm weather and what this means for the future of our kids. And so as much as I enjoyed being out and being on that hike and experiencing the wonderful outdoors that we have and the great recreational opportunities of our state, on a weekend in January, it just recommitted to me to how hard we have to work this year on these issues. So the priorities that we have at DEEP really are the priorities of everyday people across our state. We know that what people care about, what we care about at DEEP, what the governor cares about, is clean air, clean water, a safe and healthy environment to live and work and play, and a future free from the threat of climate change. When people talk about why they choose to live in Connecticut, they talk about quality of life, our great quality of life in the state. And when they talk about quality of life, we know what they mean. They mean over 100 state parks, wildlife management areas, state forests, that are all within a very short drive of all of the population of the state. Open space and recreational trails. They're talking about our world-class fishing opportunities. They're talking about the beautiful Long Island Sound, our tremendous coastal resources, the incredible wildlife that we treasure. And to protect these natural resources, it starts with protecting the programs that we need to fund our mission. And so with your support in 2019, we maintained the Passport to Parks program, which has been so critical to our department being able to support these recreational and special places. Passport provides a small surcharge on vehicle registrations and is providing us with sustainable, predictable funding for the first time, allowing us to reopen closed campgrounds and restore other previously reduced services. And most importantly, it's enabled us to eliminate parking fees to Connecticut residents at all of our Connecticut state parks. So last year, with Passport in place, we saw a 10% increase in visitorship to our state parks. And the greatest part about that is hearing from folks, especially some folks who are challenged in terms of their income, who now are visiting Hammonasset for the first time. And so we're making our parks not just open to folks who can afford it, but open to everyone in our state, because those resources are for all of us. And equity is such an important part of our mission in providing access to our special places. Speaking of Hammonasset, I enjoyed being down there last spring to celebrate some important milestones with the Blue Plan. We know that Long Island Sound is one of our most precious natural resources, and we're thrilled to be sending a final Blue Plan to the legislature for action this session. The plan was developed in partnership with outstanding stakeholder support, including many of you in this room, and it sets a blueprint for managing multiple uses of the sound moving forward, especially and to support our healthy marine environments. And I appreciate the great legislative champions for the Blue Plan that we've had, including Senator Cohen, Representative Gresko, Representative Steinberg, who I see here today, and Senator Huang. I know that clean, safe, and adequate water supplies and supporting these marine environments is so important. And protecting our water supplies are things that we work hard every day on at DEEP, because we believe that water is a public trust. And Governor Lamont believes that. And the great thing about 2019 with the passage of the state water plan is that the General Assembly believes that too. And so this plan sets the stage for managing our water resources in a balanced way to meet our stream and in-stream and out-of-stream needs. And I know that Representative Steinberg and Representative Hampton, Representative Muschensky have been tremendous advocates and supporters on this issue. Of course, we can never take clean water for granted, especially in the face of emerging contaminants. PFAS, or per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, are ubiquitous in our consumer products and now in our environment. They are persistent and they are toxic in extremely low quantities. And at the direction of Governor Lamont, our Public Health Commissioner, Renee Coleman-Mitchell, and I stood up a PFAS task force last year. We organized stakeholder working groups that so many of you volunteered your time and input into. And we delivered to the governor on November 1st a PFAS action plan that's informed by hundreds and hundreds of comments. The plan guides our priorities for this year, and it includes preventing new releases by addressing the take-back of AFFF containing firefighting foam. It directs us to start conducting the sampling and testing that we need to prioritize cleanups and beginning to remediate impacted areas. And I'm excited about some announcements that are going to be coming on that front in just the next few weeks. Another priority that we're focused on is progressing towards a more balanced waste system that emphasizes waste reduction and recycling and strives to maintain self-sufficiency. We are, as many folks may be aware, just a year ago, we were struggling under a catastrophic outage of the Mira waste-to-energy facility in Hartford. And that experience of just having that plant offline for a few weeks meant that a third of the municipal solid waste of our state had no place to go. It's a crisis that is still hanging over us, as that plant is struggling for its path forward in how it will be financed and what will happen with it. And for all of us, as we think about some of the wins that we had in 2019, addressing plastics like plastic bags and others, I have to emphasize this is an exciting session that's going to be coming up, because this issue about Mira is forcing a conversation that all of us need to be engaged in about what we want the future of our waste system to look like in the state of Connecticut. And for me, it's about more than just a waste-to-energy facility in Hartford. It's about a question of where we are going to invest our dollars, whether we are going to be okay with the reorientation of our system that's happening as we speak to send more waste out of state to landfills where it's emitting greenhouse gases, or whether we're going to stand up and seize this opportunity to support investments in the types of innovative technologies like anaerobic digestion, in the types of innovative programs like pay-as-you-throw and increasing recycling and organics collection that are going to deliver better value and help protect and preserve those communities that have been so directly impacted by hosting these types of waste-to-energy facilities for so many years. This is on my radar. This is something that we're spending a lot of time talking about in our department and planning for and looking to engage legislators on this coming year. The MIRA situation is going to be forcing this conversation into the open, and I'm inviting all of you, I'm pleading with all of you to show up to this conversation because when you express this as a priority, when you get involved in these decisions, it means that we are going to make so much more progress in getting the types of investment and infrastructure that we want and that we deserve in our communities to really advance our waste strategies to align with our environmental priorities. So, when it comes to, of course, the topic that really keeps me up quite a bit at night, and I know is troubling many of us in this room, which is climate change. 2020 year is going to be probably the most consequential year we're going to see on this issue. In the background of a federal election and the opportunity to hopefully regain a partner in the federal government as opposed to an opponent to climate action that we've been pursuing at the state level. We're going to be focusing on continuing to do what we can to be advancing leadership on climate priorities here in the state of Connecticut. One thing is for certain, that the urgency and the action focus that we've had in 2019 will be my priority to continue in the year that's coming ahead. We started 2019 with a lot of uncertainty around the future of Millstone. The potential closure of that facility would have caused greenhouse gases to increase by 25%, not just here in Connecticut in our electric grid, but across the entire New England region. And Governor Lamont brought the parties to the table, and the result was a contract to keep that plant in place and keep us from backsliding catastrophically on our emissions at about half the level of the subsidy that Dominion was seeking. But as we were working on those negotiations, we were working hard at the Capitol, securing bipartisan support with the involvement of so many of you in a bill to advance the authority for 2,000 megawatts of offshore wind procurement. And I have to thank the leadership of all of our Energy and Technology Committee members who helped to advance that. Representative Arconti, Senator Needleman, the whole delegation was so supportive. And we launched an RFP before the ink was even dry on the governor's signature on that bill, and we convened a commission on environmental standards to advise DEEP on the best ways to incorporate fisheries and environmental mitigation into our wind procurement. And on December 5th, we announced the selection of 800 megawatt project that will supply 14% of Connecticut's energy supply with zero carbon renewable energy that we deserve, and bring $800 million $800 million in economic activity to the city of Bridgeport, established the first Tier 1 manufacturing facility for cables to tie these turbines together in Seymour, Connecticut. It's a green jobs and climate solution. It is incredible, and we could not have accomplished this without your support. The passage of the governor's budget on time, and for the first time in a long time, brought stability to DEEP's budget and workforce in 2019. But it also brought stability to the clean energy workforce that we've been growing for so many years, because it finally ended the damaging sweeps of energy efficiency and green bank funds. Addressing the climate crisis is a top priority for Governor Lamont, and it's why in his first executive order expanded the state's commitments to lead by example, to reducing the state's carbon footprint, adopting sustainability targets in water and waste for the first time, and reducing the cost of government operations. We have now established state sustainability officers in every single agency of state government, and so state sustainability plans will be written and posted for each agency of our state later in February. We're bringing transparency to this effort, and we're bringing dollars too. At the Bond Commission meeting in December, the governor will move forward a package of millions of dollars to support energy audits, level 2 energy audits in our largest buildings across the state's footprint, and also accelerating a project to reduce energy emissions at the Department of Corrections, which is our biggest energy user. It's a great start, and we have so much more that we're going to be accomplishing here. Governor Lamont's third executive order set a target of 100% zero carbon electric grid for 2040. And we are working hard on analyzing the best pathways to reach that goal. I'm so excited about the work we're doing in our Integrated Resources Plan proceeding at DEEP on that. But it's going to be a major legislative priority because we don't want to just have this as a target in an executive order that a future administration could overturn or back away from. We want this to be in the Connecticut general statutes. That's going to be a priority for this session, and I will need the help of everyone in this room to ensure that we can get that done. You know, we have, at the same time, to make sure that we can supplement the successes we've had in our renewable purchases with the ability to truly scale the investment in resources that can meet that 100% target at all hours of the day by scaling investment in energy efficiency, in demand response, and in energy storage. And that's going to be another legislative priority for this year that we're going to be looking to work on, as we know that those are our first fuels. Those are the fuels that can provide us the greatest savings and benefits for our electric ratepayers. It's also important, as we talk about this goal of 100% zero carbon electric grid, to say something that we all know, that natural gas is not a bridge fuel, it's a fossil fuel. And it is a commitment of mine that we are going to be working hard on starting to turn this ship around so that we can put in place the mechanisms and the changes that we need to begin to move away from natural gas so that we can support the deployment of our renewable resources in our zero carbon grid. And that means that we're going to be working hard in dialogue with legislators. We want to work with the Energy and Technology Committee to address many of those natural gas preferences that are in our statutes today. That's something that we all need to show up to, those conversations. I've been so appreciative of hearing from thousands of you who've expressed concerns about the Killingley natural gas plant, about the pipeline tax, about many of these aspects of our of natural gas policy that need to be reoriented in order for us to make progress to our 100% zero carbon target. And you have my personal pledge that that is going to be an area that we will be working hard in dialogue with legislators to make progress on today. At the same time, I have to say that, you know, the decision that was made 2 decades ago to deregulate our electric power sector is coming into a collision course with our climate progress. Unfortunately, because of the lack of leadership on carbon at the ICE in New England, we are at the mercy of a regional capacity market that's driving investment in more natural gas and fossil fuel power plants that we don't want and that we don't need. And worse yet, with the new leadership at the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission under President Trump, the FERC has all but declared war on deregulated states, issuing an order in December that promised to penalize states for choosing energy efficiency, renewables, and even nuclear power over fossil fuel power plants. And this is forcing us to take a serious look at the costs and benefits of participating in the ICE and New England markets. It makes no sense to participate in a deregulated structure if it's going to force us to pay for resources that we don't want and that we don't need. And so that's going to be another focus of our integrated resources plan proceeding that we'll need all of your engagement on. Decarbonization of the building sector is an incredible priority. Our conservation and load management plan has resulted in energy savings for over equivalent to 130 megawatts of power plants in 2018. It's incredibly important that we continue our progress in that area, as well as in the area of transportation, which is our largest source of greenhouse gas emissions, 38%. I want to thank each and every one of you who commented on the electric vehicle roadmap that we issued in draft form and will be finalizing in the next few weeks. It sets out our goals, it identifies the challenges, and provides a pathway for meeting those challenges to get everyone into 500,000 electric vehicles on the road by 2030. The governor's budget brought stability to our popular EV rebate program, Cheaper, with $3 million in annual funding. And we'll be convening a new Cheaper board that will be overseeing that program and help us to establish for the first time a used EV incentive so that we can make electric vehicles affordable for everyone in Connecticut. It's an incredible opportunity there. We've seen great innovative projects come forward and been able to fund those through the Volkswagen settlement dollars, but we have more to do. We're going to be looking in 2020 about how to create a specialized focus on electric vehicle applications that we can move forward in an innovative way through VW as we address both carbon emissions and reducing NOx emissions that are contributing to asthma. I don't know how many folks saw the Hartford Business Journal the other day, but it celebrated someone to watch in 2020, and that's Chairman Marissa Gillette of the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority. I can't speak more enthusiastically about the work that's going on at the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority right now with their equitable and modern grid docket, and so much of the things that we need in place to end range anxiety and support this EV build-out. We are so pleased to see the leadership and initiative of all of the commissioners at PURA who are working on that effort. Of course, I've talked a lot about our strategies to reduce carbon emissions, but we also are working hard and will be working with all of you in 2020 to develop the best strategy for how we can adapt and build more resilient communities to address the impacts of climate change through the Governor's Council on Climate Change. We had a kickoff meeting in December, and we will be convening working groups through the fall that we hope all of you will be engaging with, looking at topics about our natural and working lands, understanding how our open space grant programs and other commitments to support open space can help leverage more carbon sequestration and mitigation, how we're managing our forests, the impacts of wildlife on wildlife for climate change. These are tremendous opportunities that we need to be looking at, and the Governor's Council on Climate Change will need the best minds and engagement from academia, from local government, from business and industry, and especially from environmental justice advocates as we consider the impacts of climate change and design policies that can help those who are going to and the most vulnerable in our communities, who are going to be the most affected by the impacts of climate change. So I thank you all in advance because it's going to be a very busy year on the council. So I'll just close by saying that, right now folks in Washington are pushing a false narrative that regulation hurts the economy. And they're rolling back environmental standards and they're disguising it as streamlining. And in this moment, I believe that DEEP has an opportunity and really an obligation to share the truth about regulation, which is that effective regulation is the key to a sustainable economy and to a thriving democracy. And last summer, I launched the last summer, we launched the 20 by 20 initiative at DEEP to lift up the innovative work that we're doing at our agency in this regard. And for the businesses we regulate, that means getting permits issued in a timely way. For the partners that we work with, this means getting grant dollars out the door faster. For the hardworking men and women, the tremendous scientists, economists, and others that we are so privileged to have on our staff at DEEP, this means investing in new information technology tools and working hard to fill vacancies and fighting for the resources that we need to carry out our mission. And for stakeholders and affected communities, this means resolving legacy permits that have been waiting decision for years. And it means putting out high-value information so people have more access to the information about the types of impacts that they may be facing in their communities. It means issuing decisions and moving forward long-awaited regulations, particularly the remediation standard regulations and the environmental use restrictions regulations, which are fundamental to the safe and efficient cleanup of contaminated sites in Connecticut. So it may sound, like we're just focused on management and process, but management and process is about how we establish credibility, how we establish people's confidence that the work we're doing through this regulatory framework is delivering on the priorities that we care about and the priorities that that the people of Connecticut are depending on us to deliver. And that is fishable waters and streams, safe places to work and play, a healthy environment, clean and safe drinking water. This is our mission. These are our priorities. We share them together, and we have to work on them for the people, for the families, and for the kids who are depending on us. It's going to be a big year. It's going to be a consequential year. I can't wait to come back next January and be celebrating how we've turned the tide and made a step change, a generational change in advancing our environmental priorities. I know with the energy that we're seeing in this room, with the youth that are turning out, with so many of you who've showed up at the Capitol to protest or to send us letters or to urge your legislators and urge the governor and support his efforts to make a big difference. I know we're going to get there. I thank you in advance for your partnership, and I am so excited to work on these issues with you in 2020. Thank you.